Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley.
Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds podcast. Once again, you've reached episode number 278, entitled Builderius, a new and innovative way to create your WordPress website. It was published on Thursday, the 12th of May, 2022. My name's Nathan Wrigley and I am glad to welcome you to the WP Builds podcast. We produce a fair amount of content. Typically in a week we do 2 shows. We do This Week in WordPress, which is live on a Monday at 2 p.m. UK time. If there's ever anything live on WP Builds, you can find it at wpbuilds.com/live. Please come and join us, make some comments. We'd love that. Alternatively, if you can't make that, you can always just subscribe. And if you do that, we will send it out to you in an email. We'll also send out details of our other shows. For example, the WP Builds Weekly WordPress podcast. That's what you're listening to now. That comes out on a Thursday. But we're also doing monthly shows with Peach and Eri all about UI and UX. And I've also started a show with Anne McCarthy from Automatic all about what's coming up in WordPress. And so all of that can be found wpbuilds.com/subscribe. Go there, subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll keep you updated. I'd love it if you felt it was possible to share the podcast with your friends. That would be really, really great. If you like WordPress and like saving money, we've got our deals page. It's a bit like Black Friday, but every single day of the week. Searchable, filterable, big long list of all sorts of plugins, themes, blocks, and, well, you get the idea, WordPress things. You can find that wpbuilds.com/guess what? wpbuilds.com/deals. That's there, like I say, 365 days of the year for you to save money. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by GoDaddy Pro. GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with The Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place. Invoice clients and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more by going to go.me/WP Builds. Once more, go.me/WP Builds. And I would sincerely like to thank GoDaddy Pro for their support, helping us to put on the WP Builds podcast. Speaking of the podcast, today we have Vladimir Dencik, and he is coming to us from Builderius. Now, Builderius is a bit like a page builder, but a little bit more complicated. And in fact, I would say that this whole episode is fairly complicated. It's a new product, and when I say new page builder, you're probably thinking, oh, sigh, another WordPress tool. But no, this is really not like any other thing you've possibly ever seen. Is it a point, click, drag, save UI? No, it's not. There's a little bit more. Every time you begin, you have to start from a blank canvas, and there's an awful lot of settings and things to configure, so it's not quite what you're used to with tools like Element or Beaver Builder and so on. There's a lot more to it, loads of different features. You start with a blank canvas, build up some templates, and the workflow is pretty extraordinary. So check out the podcast. If you're looking to leave some comments, well, I'd really appreciate that. Go to wpbuilds.com, search for episode number 278 and leave us some comments there. We'd really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds podcast. Once again, we've got an interview today and I am joined by Vladimir Dencik. How are you doing?
Thanks, Nate. Hello, Nate, and thanks for having me here. I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I have to confess, I had to rehearse Volodimir's name quite a number of times. It just so happens that my tongue can't quite get around it, but I think I got it right.
Yeah, that's correct.
We're going to be talking today about a totally really sublimely interesting project. I don't think, unless you've come across this and looked at it independently yourself, I think it's quite unlikely that you've ever used a tool quite like this. It's called Builderius. Again, apologies if I've pronounced that incorrectly,
That's
but
correct.
the spelling of it is easy. It's Builder with I-U-S, so Builderius. And the website URL is builderius.io. I would highly recommend that at any point in this podcast, if you become confused or you just think, what are they talking about? How does that actually work? Your best bet is going to be to go to that website. So builderius.io, pause this podcast, go to that website, have a poke around and see what's over there, and then come back and press play again, because I fear that the level of complexity which this subject deserves is going to be a little bit difficult with audio. So, Volodymyr, first question, just give us the elevator pitch. What is Builderius?
Builderius, as we wrote in our logo on our website, it is the WordPress development environment. It is not typically page builder, site builder, theme builder like you see other builders on the market. It is something new. That's why we tried to identify the category to which we belong, and we decided to invent the new category of software. It is like a really development environment, because it's functionality more than just page builder. Its functionality should cover page builder, form building, faceted filtration, and even some work with multi-language plugins. And later we will add much more functionality. So
okay, yeah. I mean, the idea here is, it's a plugin, right?
Yes,
and
yes,
it's purely for WordPress. So they label it as the all-in-one development tool. And I think probably most of the people listening to this podcast have great experience with things like a traditional page builder. You know, we're a decade into that whole software environment where you go in, you log into your WordPress page or whatever it might be, and you click and drag and move things around and save it. So, you know, we're talking Oxygen, Beaver Builder, Elementor. This is more than that, but it's also got a very different way of operating. So do you want to just sort of outline some of the main differences between what we think of as a page builder and what your tool can do and how it works?
Yes, of course. So Builderius proposes you the main thing which is different comparing to other builders is that the Builderius proposes the let's say software development workflow. So let's consider WordPress website development like software development, like WordPress plugin, because actually if you are creating something, let's talk about creating a website outside of WordPress. How do you do this? You are creating some files, you are doing some changes, you can preview how it's working in your local environment, but anyway, after from time to time, you should save your data. And of course, developers, they use something like Git, version control system. So they save their data in the commits, and from time to time they have more than one commit. They can have different branches, and after they are happy with the functionality of this software, this website, they are releasing it. They are uploading this to the production server, sometimes with some unit and functional tests, sometimes not, but it's like this workflow of software development. And we tried to implement the same software development workflow in Builderius. So in Builderius, we have templates, we have apply rules, so everything close to other builders. So you can create template for singular pages, you can create templates for posts, for archive pages, for custom posts, for different types of archives, archive by user, archive by category, custom taxonomy, lots of possibilities. And every template which you are creating is a separate, let's say, VCS repository. a version control system. It's like in GitHub, you have a repository for some plugin. So in our structure, every template of Builderius is a separate VCS repository, and every template can have inside branches and commits. But you can have more than one template in your site, and it's okay, it's naturally. And you can combine them. On top of templates, you can have multiple levels of global settings. These settings common to more than one template. And these global settings, they are also VCS repositories, which can have their own branches and their own commits. So it is focused on let's say, complicated sites development. Of course, you can create in simple sites, but I don't know, maybe if not reasonable, because the workflow and the functionality we try to implement to help people to solve the complicated things with lots of pages, complicated logic, some form submissions. So that's why the structure is like this. So, and even possible that on one template can work one developer, on another template can work another developer, and they have different commits quantity. They can move some common things to global settings. They can, of course, there can be some conflicts, and the same like in merge conflicts in Git version control system. And we have in the Pro version, we have functionality to fixing those conflicts. It's very powerful things for complicated websites.
Yeah.
And after all this stuff is ready, so you have 1, 2, 3, 5 templates, some global settings during development process you are doing, and there is the point where you are happy with all your parts of your site, and you want to group it somehow and deliver to the production server, show to customer different things. So on this step, we have another powerful tool. We call it our code delivery system. Now it is possible just in this system, just one thing can be created. We call it deliverables, Builderius deliverables. And now just one type of deliverables available, it is release. So you can group all your templates, all your commits, not all actually, but the specific commits you want. So let's say in one template you have 25 commits, in another template you have 5 commits, and in global settings you have just 1 commit. And you are picking the right commits for your version of the site, and you add tag. You add the same tag to these commits. So in first template, I want to tag commit number 23. In another template, I want to tag commit number 4. And in global settings, as I have just one commit, I am adding the tag to this one commit. And by doing this, I am grouping all these commits from different parts from global settings and templates. I am grouping them into the release. Release is the full version of my site. And by creating such release, I can publish it, or I can export it and move it. It will be exported as zip archive with all necessary images inside, and it can be portable and it can be imported from the staging server to the production server. And on the production server, it is not necessary to have all these templates, commits, branches. Just release is enough. And by importing there this release can be published there. And the good thing that there can be more than one release in the system, but just one can be published at the same time. So let's imagine a situation. You have previously created release. It is working, it is published, customer is happy, but you continue your work on the website and you are adding some new functionality. And once this functionality is ready, you are creating new release. New release also can be published, but a customer or just regular users of the website, they found that there's some mistake. It's bad situation, but what you can do, you can publish previously created release, which is totally good. This version of the site will be visible to all your site's visitors, and at that time you have possibility to fix mistakes in your next release, which was published but it was buggy. So like this is workflow which Builderius proposed.
I mean, there's so much in there. So let's just sort of recap. The premise really, I think, here is that you are building out templates for things that you want to have on your website. So that could be posts or pages or what have you. And then within that, you've got the option to have a version control sort of staging option where you can get your team in and they can be working on things synchronously and, you know, committing things and making decisions about what is finally going to make it into the production version of the site. This is all really, really interesting. So that's the high level. That's what we're trying to achieve, which brings us really nicely to how these templates are constructed. Anybody that's been using WordPress for any length of time is probably familiar with the concept that behind things like posts are templates. You need some sort of template in which the content, the data is actually going to reside. And we may have done those in the past with template files. You might have had your IDE out and literally created the templates by typing them out. And then now I think a lot of people are using page builders. They're setting up templates in that way. And saving them away and then dropping, for want of a better word, shortcodes in where the data might reside. But you, I suppose with the name Builderius, this is where the builder comes in. You've got a graphical user interface, which kind of is a bit like a page builder, but it's much more than that. It's really difficult to describe, but you are able to operate on a GUI. You're not doing all of this by opening up an IDE and typing. You are selecting things from a user interface, and depending on what you select, further options are offered up to you. You know, so for example, it might be that you want to display this content on a particular page if a certain condition is met. All of that is in there. So try to describe, if you can, the process of using your builder.
Yeah, of course. So first, what you need to do, just one thing I should tell, that the unique feature of Builderius is that it is not overreading the theme. You can combine, for some parts of your site, according to the templates you're creating, according to the apply rules of templates, you can cover just part of your site by Builderius functionality, but other part of your site can be covered by your active theme. We're not overreading everything. We're just overreading the pages user created templates for, and according to the apply rules of our templates, we are covering just part of the site.
Yeah, so this is kind of like the first thing that you do, isn't it? You have to, in the part of setting up a template, you have to make decisions about where this template is going to be, and so the theme can be used if needed. But if you override that with Builderius and you give it conditions which mean, okay, use this template, that's going to come into play. Okay.
Yes, but if you create Builderius template for some page of your site, for archive page, for a singular page, at that page, theme will not be loaded at all. You will receive the blank canvas, and everything you need you can do just in Builderius. No assets, no CSS files, no JS files from the theme. They will not be loaded at the pages where Builderius is loading. So that's the main thing. But let's talk about the workflow of Builderius. So first, yes, as we talked before, you should create a template. We have a few templates that we have technology. We have two options during the template creation. We have technology and we have template type. Technology, now we have just one technology, which is HTML, but we are ready. Our architecture is ready for something more. We created actually this for in the future for adding another technology like AMP. Now we are not sure about this, but we have such possibility.
maybe not.
Maybe not. But we are ready. Let's say like this. After you choose the technology, you can choose the template type. We have just 3 template types. It's singular pages, collection pages, and other pages. Singular is for posts and pages, for custom posts. Collection is for archive pages, different type of archives, and others is for now just one apply rule. It's just for error 404 page.
Okay.
So you should decide your type of template and you're creating your template. After you created your template, you should open apply rules, and from according to the type you have selected, you will see different apply rules for different template types. So according to apply rules, you should select on which pages you want to apply this template. So you can select specific post by ID, you can select posts by category, you can select post by some tags, lots of possibilities. In Pro version, we have more than just possibility to select apply rules based on templates, WordPress templates hierarchy. We have possibility to combine 2 different groups. So you can select posts of specific category and apply rule based on user credentials. So user should be logged in, user can be not logged in, user should have some capability or just by ID of the user. Also, we have apply rules based on the multi-language plugin you have installed. Now we have created just integration with Polylang. So you can create a condition apply rules based on the language which you are using. So you can create a template for some categories, archive, and for some specific language. And for another language, you can create another template. But this is just one option. Except this, we add possibility to create one template for all languages, and inside of this template, based on our functionality of string translation, we have this in Pro version. You can create this template and it will be translated according to the language you are using in Polylang.
Wow.
Just this, yes. And this string translation inside of Builder, it is not related to any multi-language plugin. It is working with WordPress localization by default. So no need to use some Polylang or WPML or other multi-language plugins. So if you created your template, you can put there different strings for different languages you think it will be necessary. And if the customer install your template on the language with English localization and you have this translation, it will be translated on English. Or if it's Spanish, it will be translated in Spanish. So just one template, and it's possible to have their strings for different languages.
Yeah.
So like this. So okay, you just wanted to ask something?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, so we need to set up a template and we need to give it a condition when it's going to appear. So as you've just described, it could be that it has a particular post ID, or it could be a category, or in the case that you've just mentioned, it might be that a certain language has been selected. And so we've then got ourselves to the point where we know when this template will come into play. what does the actual building of the template look like? Because on the videos that I saw, it's not what we get necessarily with a page builder. So with a traditional page builder, let's go with the example of something like Beaver Builder, Elementor, and so on. When we begin, a lot of the sort of styling options and the way things will look are kind of taken care for us out of the box. There's some, it comes with the theme or what have you. You are building, I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think you're building from a completely blank canvas where you have to decide, make decisions about everything, including what an H1 tag will look like, what fonts are going to be used in a paragraph, and so on. All of that has to be decided because the theme's not doing anything, and so you've got to make all these decisions up front, presumably with the designer, or if that's you, that you've got to make decisions about what everything is going to be like, what the header's going to look like, what the navigation is going to look like, what all the fonts will be, what the sizes and the weights and the color palettes will be. All of that has to be decided at the outset, right?
Yes, correct. So just blank canvas, and you can, it's freedom. That's why we did this, because we don't like the approach when you have theme and you have to work here or there with some hooks, with some shortcuts, try to understand how I can overread this part or that part. We just wanted to build a, let's say, vertical integration system. And if you are decided to style the design of this page by Builderius, so you have the freedom, you have the blank canvas, and you have possibility to do whatever you need.
Is it possible to, let's say, for example, I'm on my third Builderius website, and I'm just about to embark upon my third one. Is it possible for me to make the third site look largely like the second site? In other words, could I save those templates away, export them somehow, and bring them to make that a little bit less onerous the third time around?
Sure, yes. So what you can do now, it is not ready yet, but we are working on the cloud of layouts, but not just layouts. In our cloud will be multiple types. Let me explain. So in the cloud will be possible to have just parts of your pages. We call them like fragments or layouts. Also, there can be possible to save there another category, which is full template. Full template, difference between layouts and template, that in template we have a group of settings which belong to template. Layout doesn't have this. Layout created just by modules, and layout is just the group of modules, the fragment of the page. And the difference between layout and template, that in template is like a full page design, and you have in template settings related to the template. That's the second level. And the third level is the cloud for releases. Release is the full site solution. So in this, in the release, you have more than one template. In the release, you have global settings. So you can have you can export in the future. Now it's not possible, not finished this functionality, but it will be possible once you created the release. You can export it as zip archive, or you can upload it to the cloud, and you can make this release private just for you. You can share this release to specific users of our cloud, or you can make it public.
Okay. Yeah.
And there will be possibility to download this, and based on this, create your custom design just by changing this or changing that part, and like this.
Yeah. So at this point, then, this is where the the page builder feel starts to take effect. So we now have a sidebar, shall we say, where there's a whole bunch of options of things that you can add to the page, and we're into familiar territory, I'm sure, for many of you. So, for example, you can add in paragraphs, and you can add in block quotes, and but the options here are they're not the same as in a page builder, because it's what you're trying to do is offer us the scope to pull in any data from anywhere based upon anything, whereas other page builders, on the whole, you're dragging in modules with pre-designed styles. So do you want to just sort of describe how you actually use the builder to build pages or templates, I should say?
Sure. So yes, so once you open our builder mod, and you will see the blank canvas and the panel from the left or the right side, and what to do, how to start building. So first, what if you are creating some static page? So just select in the panel, you have possibility to add modules, and by clicking this button add module, you can see from the list of our modules what you can add. Our modules mainly they are reflecting the HTML tags. So one tag, one module, and we have different types of modules. We have modules with container type, so you can put inside one module another module. Some modules they are not containers, they can be like paragraphs, headings, so it's like this. And once you add the module to your tree, you can style them. You can double click by this module, and the settings will be opened. We have CSS settings, non-CSS settings, and by CSS settings, I think everything is understandable. Just search the setting you need and style this module. But also we have non-CSS settings. And among these settings, I think the most interesting setting is data variables. Data variables, it's if you want to work with dynamic data, you're building not static data, you should get this data somehow from the database. And in Builderius, we did unique, I think, logic for WordPress world. Like Builderius is a unique product, and it has, of course, unique logic. So it is not like in the Gutenberg, when you have you add the module, and you have specific module for specific data from the database. So like you putting somewhere module which is showing you the post title or post content, so you have dedicated block for that. Builderius is not working like that. Builderius modules, they are, let's say, data source agnostic. They don't care about the source of your data. They know how to work with the data model. So that's the difference of Builderius and I think other builders, because it's a unique feature. So between data source and between data representation, we have the thing we call data model. What is data model? So before you create your complicated dynamic site, you need to understand which data you need from the database, how you will get them. So how you can do this, you should create your data model, and your data model can be created from the data variables. We have specific setting, data variables, and we have different types of these variables. The main type is the query database, and for this database query, we created the GraphQL syntax. So all things which you have in the database, you can get by writing the GraphQL query.
Wow.
And this is GraphQL is just about getting some objects from the endpoint, and not all objects. So if you need from a post just some fields, just title, maybe some metadata, so just write the query to get this. You don't need post content, you don't need featured image. So don't write the query to get this. If you need just few fields, just use them, and that's it. So our GraphQL is helping you to get everything you need from the database. So you can get posts, you can get terms, you can get users, you can get metadata. Also, we created integration with the ACF. So all ACF custom fields is possible to get from different locations. You can get ACF related to post, to term, to user, to options page. It's also possible to get. And so just create your data model. And just by getting data, you really need on this template. Okay, that's the first type and the main type. And after that, if you got this data from the database and the format of the data is not good for you, you can use another thing, very cool thing. It is expression language. Expression language is, we actually used the Symphony expression language. There is Symphony component, very popular, very powerful, but we also enhanced this. We add lots of functions. We implemented their arrow functions, closures. So it is possible to work with function like for each. So you got something from the database, and in the for each cycle, you are modifying every element of the array by some custom function which you need. So you can uppercase, lowercase, you can join something, or you can delete something from the array based on its position or based on its value. You can combine, you can join two arrays. It's very, very powerful.
The principle here really is that you're able to do literally anything if you're willing to put the required time in to figure out how to make that anything happen. And I think that's probably one of the biggest differentiators between yourself and the page builders that we've been discussing. The idea over there more is to sort of speed up the flow right off the bat by just sort of having pre-built things. You've got limited options. You know, you can't drag everything you would like out of the database, but you can probably get away with most of what you want. You know, the post content and the featured image and things that you described, that can all be taken care of, and probably things like ACF fields, where you're offering the option to literally put anything at all in the database, so long as you're prepared to go through the barrier of learning how the UI and the workflow for Builderius works. And I'm just curious as to where you feel your target audience is. You know, is this really firmly in the camp of people who would describe themselves as developers, or do you have customers who are kind of like fresh to WordPress and have just explored through your UI? Because I noticed some of the marketing material that you've got, it kind of feels like you're able to take beginners even through this process, because they don't have a fixed idea of what ought to be possible in a WordPress website and what the constraints normally would be. And you've got the ambition of taking beginners as well as developers along for the ride.
Yeah, correct. So we have two types of our potential customers, and we have we have use cases where, like you told, the people who didn't was familiar with the WordPress at all. They just want to start website development. So we showed them Builderius, and they did few projects on the Builderius, and now it's good. They are happy with this tool. They feel the freedom. They know, of course, they had to learn the WordPress database. They had to learn the WordPress templates hierarchy, and that's okay. You should have this knowledge in other builders. You should understand what are you doing. This tool is can be used by new newcomers, let's say,
Yeah.
into the WordPress world. But other category of the user is the really professionals, which know a lot about all we were talking about. So
Yep.
they know what is the version control system. They know what is let's say called delivery system. They know the structure of the database. They know the structure of some plugins which are adding something to the database, like ACF, Metabox, and other things. So they have everything. This we are not forcing them to. We are not limiting. We are not forcing. We are not limiting them in their design. So the main logic is to get from the database everything you need, transform it according to your needs, and only after you have the valid, you will get the JSON object, like your data model. You can observe this data. You can see that here I have this, here I have that. I have array with objects, and every object has 4 fields: title, content, image, and I don't know, let's say 3 fields: title, content, and image. And after that, I have this model. I am creating the view part. So I am adding my modulus to the content area. And in this modulus, I am telling that I want to create the collection, and the source of collection will be my module, and every element inside of collection should work with different fields of every object in the module. So I am adding some paragraph, and this paragraph should show me the post title. Another paragraph, let's say raw HTML, should show me post content. Another image module should show me the picture, and it will be working. After some time, I can save my layout somewhere in the cloud, or I can just export this. And this layout will be aware of the data model. This data model will not be tied to the specific location of this data in the database. The data model will be just abstract object with abstract array with objects, and these objects should have these 3 fields. So after I save my layout, in the future I can use it on another project. And another project, for example, I don't need to show this design based on my posts. I want to create this design based on some ACF repeater. And this ACF repeater also has my 3 fields: title, description, and image. So after I input this layout into another project, and in that another project, I am creating data model from the different source. This source can be even external API request. But the output of this data model, same array with the objects, and object has title, description, and image. And my layout will be working. I don't need to change anything because my data model is the same. I don't care about the source of the data, that on another project this data is taken from the other location. But finally, my data model is the same that I used in the previous project. So this is the power. In the cloud of layouts will be such layouts that and description which data model you need to create to get this layouts working. And these layouts will have 2 configs. One with the static data, just in order to make preview to see how it's looking. Mm-hmm. And another is dynamic part. So you can read in description which data model you need to prepare and put this data model as the source for that layout. And this layout will be working with your data model. It doesn't matter about the source of this data. Mm-hmm. Like this.
Yeah, amazing. So really the intention would be that obviously developers can make incredible use of this. More or less, if you can imagine it, you can build it. You may have to, go through some learning curves, but also if you're just starting out, you could definitely get yourself up and running. There's definitely going to be a learning curve. It's not just drop right in and start building off the bat. As you said, there's going to be some sort of prerequisite to understand how the templating system of WordPress works and where things are stored in the database and so on. I'm curious that in the future you're trying to really take the lifting of what at the minute is the realm of third-party plugins and build that into Builderius. And I'll just mention that at the moment you mentioned that you could do faceted search, so things like Search and Filter Pro or Grid Builder or WP Grid Builder, I believe it's called, or Facet WP, those kind of plugins. That kind of functionality is already in, so you can do the faceted search inside the builder. But on your website, and this may not be the case when this podcast airs, perhaps they'll have gone live, you're also saying that you'll take over the burden of creating custom post types as well. So you'll be able to put metadata in through the builder. And also there'll be a built-in form module at some point. And also, amazingly, a built-in email template builder as well, which is remarkable.
Yes. All this we have in our roadmap, and some of the things you told right now, it's already done. So let's start about the faceted filtration. So it's already done. So in your GraphQL query, by specific syntax, you can inject the data from the GET request, from the POST request, from cookies. So by combining with form functionality, so you are creating form, and by submitting form, data from this form are going to the get to the part of the URL. It's like get parameters, and these get parameters you can use in the query to the database in GraphQL. So by default, if you don't have this parameters, you will get default query with default arguments. So you will get just, let's say, all posts by specific category with pictures, and you will show them on your content. But by clicking something in your sidebar, in your form, you want to limit something based on some specific meta, based on some term, something like this, and you can inject these parameters in the query. So by clicking the submit button, all these parameters will go to the GET request, and from the GET request they will go to the query to the database, to the GraphQL, and GraphQL will return you your filtered data. So this part is already implemented. The second part is about form. Form in the Pro version almost finished. We have two types of forms. First, it's just simple form, like just a form HTML component. So you can create simple forms. We just add the hidden field action, and it will submit data to the backend. And if you have some request handler on the backend, it will be processed. But this is not interesting. We are working on the specific module which calls Smart Form, and this Smart Form will gives you possibility to make cool validation, make data transformation, make lots of things, and also very interesting thing that data will be submitted on this specific endpoint, and on that endpoint we are adding, let's say, form submission actions, and it will be possible to configure these submission actions in the builder mode. They can be combined with the conditional logic, and conditional logic we also implemented. So this conditional logic can be used to display some modules on the page based on some condition, based on our data model. Conditional logic is working based on data model. If you have something in data, you can make condition based on this. So these form submission actions, they can be added. More than one submission action can be added, and they can be added with conditions. So if user logged in, I want to use this form submission action. If not, I want to use another, and I can create different chains of these submission actions. So this is almost done. And yes, in our roadmap, we wrote that we want to add functionality of custom posts, adding custom fields, adding yes, because we found that in our release, when we have everything ready and we want to export this from staging server to the production server, we have a gap that on the production server, probably there are no such fields created, I don't know, maybe by ACF or Metabox, and we should accept our release config. We need to export something else, and theoretically, there is problem that you accept our release, you should do some other operations of the production server in order to get this design in the release working. So in order to fix this, we need to add custom post creation and custom fields creation inside of Builderius and be responsible for that. And after we add this functionality, everything you need to for the production server will be in this release config.
Yeah, that's an amazing roadmap. I mean, I think you've done a remarkable job of trying to describe in words what is significantly easier to understand in practice. The complexity here is just breathtaking. You know, it's essentially, if you want to be able to manipulate every single bit of what's on your website and you don't want to be constrained by what the theme gives you or what the page builder gives you, then this is going to be a really good tool in your arsenal. It's also going to cut down, hopefully, on the sort of bloat of your web page. You know, you're going to be only processing the things and displaying the things that you really, really want to show, which I guess in these days of Core Web Vitals and things like that, this can only be for the better. The question that I have around the pricing model and the way it is structured, I don't really have much understanding of. You mentioned a sort of pro version, but I don't know if that's already in existence and what the pricing model is or what you're intending to do around pro. So we'll round off the podcast with the discussion about what the pro version may look like or what it in fact is at the minute.
Pro version, it is not visible to everyone. It's 99% ready, and the next step will be demo site, where it will be possible to play with the pro version, but without possibility to buy it and download it to your website.
Okay.
Next step, because we want to polish it and we want to make it cool, and when it will be possible to buy it, we want it to be worth to buy. Let's say like this. About the pricing model. Now we're thinking about this. Just one thing I can tell that we will have lifetime deal, but this lifetime deal will not be for unlimited sites. It will be for fixed sites, and another option, it will be that it will be possible to buy just necessary amount of licenses which you need. So it will not be some limitation. So you can buy 5 sites, you can buy license for 50 sites, or you can buy license for 100 sites.
Right.
So if you need 7 licenses, you can do this.
Yeah.
If you use these 7 licenses and after that you need another 5 or 3 licenses, you will be able to extend your license to the number of licenses you need. And as many licenses you buy, the price for one license per one license will be decreased.
Okay.
Just this I can tell right now.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, it doesn't exist yet. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know, it's a work in progress. So if any of this has captured your imagination, if you've been interested by this and you feel, wow, that sounds like the complicated stuff that I want to be getting involved in, then head over to builderius.io, builderius.io, and just as a final question, Volodymyr, what is a good way to get in touch with you or anybody else to do with Builderius? Where's the best way to reach out to you?
We have, thanks for the question because I forgot about this. I think the best way is to join our Facebook group. We have Facebook group. We have also our YouTube channel. We have our website. There is, or just write us on the email support at Builderius.io. So like this, but I think the best way to watch for the Builderius is to join our Facebook group.
Okay.
And all news we publish there.
Yeah, you can find links to the Facebook group on the docs, I believe.
On the docs, on the main website, on the YouTube.
And actually, just before we finish, I would like to point out that there is a lot of documentation that the guys have added. So, you may find that you don't actually need to reach out to support. If you go to docs.builderius.io, then you're going to be shown a whole load of documentation, videos, and text-based and image-based tutorials on how to get yourself up and running. It starts at the very beginning of installing and terms, glossary, and then getting into the more complicated things. So that's maybe a good place to go. I will link to that in the show notes, Volodymyr. So yeah, Builderius, really interesting project, really fascinating. I hope that in the future we get to chat once more and talk about the new features that have been added in. But for now, Volodymyr, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Well, I really hope that you enjoyed that. It's always fascinating to talk about brand new WordPress products and services, and this certainly is a bit different. Quite a difficult topic to get over in a podcast because there's so much stuff that you need to see visually. So maybe go and check out the Builderius website. There are going to be links on the post, and you can find it at wpbuilds.com and go and search for episode number 278 in our archives menu right at the top. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by GoDaddy Pro. GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with The Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. You can find out more by going to go.me/WP Builds. That's go.me/WP Builds. And we do thank GoDaddy Pro for their support of the WP Builds podcast. Okay, we will be back next week. As it was an interview this week, I'll be chatting with David Wormsley next week. We'll be doing another in our WordPress Business Bootcamp series. I hope that you join us for that. If not, maybe we'll see you on Monday for the live show. And don't forget, if you want to keep updated, wpbuilds.com/subscribe. So until next week, stay safe. I'm going to fade in some cheesy music and say bye-bye for now.